Hello, welcome back to A Nourished Life and Home, our homeschool series we're going through. My name is Amanda and thank you for being here. We're having our first hummingbird. We put out a hummingbird feeder and I have yet to see a hummingbird go to it, and I just saw one. So that's really fun. All right, so today I am going to be talking about our favorite family read-alouds from this last year. We used the CMEC as our curriculum this last year. Every term for the CMEC, we read from a different author. So there's a few of those in here, and then we just kind of picked whatever I had on the shelves, whatever sounded fun, whatever had been recommended to me that seemed like it would be a good fit. So I'm going to share what we loved and then a few that we're going to need to pick up again at another time when hopefully it'll be more interesting to my children. Let's get started. I will have a blog post linked below with all of these titles that we enjoyed. Winnie the Pooh. So this was such a delightful read for my children and us. We had a few days where we were sick. I heard, I think it was from Autumn Kern, where her children, she says when they are sick, they do not get screen time. They don't just get to watch movies all day. They can lay in bed and mommy will read to them as much as they want. And that is what we did, and that is what I've adopted since. It is just wonderful. We get to read so many wonderful things. It just turns a sick day into a really sweet, slow family time, or they get to rest their bodies, which is what they need, and screens don't necessarily do that for small brains, which we don't have to get into that conversation today. Back to read-alouds. Winnie the Pooh. This was just so delightful to read out loud. The illustrations are lovely, and there's just something about having a really nice copy of an old book that it just makes the experience so much more fun. And we really enjoyed this. House at Pooh Corner we started, but I think we just needed a break from Winnie the Pooh. We all laughed through this entire book. I don't recommend the audio version at all. We started it after we finished this because my children wanted to keep going, essentially. You know, little children, they just want to read the same story over and over and over again. We tried the audio. It was horrible. I don't recommend it at all. I'm not really sure who that narrator was. It was whatever was on Libby, the library app, and I don't recommend it. Reading out loud is the way to go. I talked about this a little bit in my last video on our curriculum hits and misses for the year. I'll link that down below or somewhere if I can figure out how to do that. Young children, my children just love entering into another child's story. Reading about other children, they get to relate, and it is very fun to watch. So I noticed like all of our favorites that were hits with my children were along those lines. Like what makes a great children's storybook, I think entering their world is just wonderful. And my children are in such imaginative stage of life that is so fun to see. So all of these books that we've read have given them wonderful ideas that they've taken into their play. And that is something that I've learned a lot about beginning narration and narrators is even if they have a hard time narrating at the school table and recalling what we've read, I see it in their play and I can see that learning is happening. So that is very fun to watch. Okay, moving on. The Children of the Noisy Village. This was so fun. There were just a few parts that I skipped, but overall, this book was just wonderful. And it was one of those books that in every down moment, my daughter was like, Mommy, will you read me another chapter? Mommy, will you read me another chapter? So this was just delightful. We tried to read Pippi Longstocking after this, and I just couldn't do it. So we might try again later. I'll pre-read. We'll see. Anyways, next one was Charlotte's Web. We've read this one before. My children just love it so much. And this time we actually, so they would look through this and we ended up doing the audio version narrated by Meryl Streep. It is just delightful. There's different voices. My children probably listened to that audiobook 3 times. that was very fun. So we enjoy Charlotte's Web. Then The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I read this for the first time last year, twice. I read it once by myself, once with my children, and then they listened to it on audio afterward. I am excited for Christmas. I think I'm going to get them the dramatized, focus on the family theater version of this series. So we only read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe of this series, but my children loved it. So we will do the rest. Then next is All of a Kind Family. This was a really sweet book. We enjoyed this book, and it was one of those that we went back and forth with, me reading out loud, listening to the audio version. If you have Spotify, you can get that for free on there. And so we would just listen to it while we ate lunch. My children really got into the storyline, and it was very sweet. So that was a favorite. Okay, probably our number one favorite from the entire year was Betsy, Tacy. Please leave me a comment if you've read and enjoyed Betsy, Tacy, because it is just so wonderful. There have been just a few people that they love Betsy, Tacy too. You just feel like you're meeting a kindred spirit when someone else has enjoyed Betsy, Tacy. So my daughter loved these. These were so much fun. Again, 5, 6, 7-year-old little girls living their lives, making friends, living in their imaginations, and they were just so wonderful. So Betsy, Tacy was great, and then we read Betsy, Tacy, and Tib, so they've grown up a little bit. I think they're 7 or 8 years old. So we will probably jump into book 3 and 4 next year. I ended up finding a set of the first 4 of these books in excellent condition, all the same covers, which is hard to find with Betsy, Tacy. I realized there's like different covers, not that it really matters, but it's just kind of fun that I found a set on eBay, and I'm going to gift it to my daughter for her building her own personal library, because my hope is that each of our children would leave our house with a wonderful personal libraries launching into the world. If I can leave them with that, that would be a wonderful thing. So those first 4 books of this series are going to be her first. I'm going to gift that to her when she turns 7 years old. So very fun. I think she will be reading at this level by then, and we just completely enjoyed those. All right. Now, these have been in rotation in our family the last couple years. We started with the Little Pilgrim's Big Journey. That was really fun. I got this for my son, and then I got the Christiana version for my daughter 2 Christmases ago, and then this Christmas I got this third one for my son, and my children love these. We reference the characters all the time, and these are books that just, when you read them, you are changed. Like, you are on the verge of tears. You can so relate, and we just really love this depiction of the Little Pilgrim books. We also enjoy Little Pilgrim's Progress. My husband is reading this to my children for the second time. They love it. Along the same storyline, but like animal characters, beautiful illustrations. And these have just been wonderful family read alouds. And I highly recommend them if your children are like where mine are at, and they still love pictures. They love books with pictures. And read other chapter books, obviously, that don't have a ton of pictures, but they just really enjoy a little glimpse of illustrations within the storyline. So there's that. Okay, 2 books that I was enjoying, but my children were not. And we will have to revisit them because I do think that they're lovely. I just think that the timing wasn't right. You know what I mean? I have read a few books of my own. For example, I am reading Anne of Green Gables, the whole series right now. I'm on book 6. But it was probably 4 years ago or 5 that I picked up book 2, and I was having such a hard time with it. I just wasn't getting into it. It was a drag to try to get to read it, and so I picked it up again last year, and it has become one of my absolute favorite books. So I don't know if I just need more life experience or what, but I definitely think there is a right time for a book. And these that I'm going to share, it just was the wrong time for my kids. So, The Railway Children. I was enjoying this book so much. It's very high language. There are no pictures in this version. I'm sure there are pictures in other versions. I've looked into getting, I think it's a Sporn version. You know, I just saw it in a bookstore the other day. I should have opened it and looked. I was loving this story. We all want to know what happened to their dad. My kids still want to know what happened to their dad because we didn't get that far. And we got about halfway, you can see there. And they just are like, Mama, I don't like that story. I don't want to read it anymore. And after enough of that, I was like, okay, give in. We'll pick it up another time. And if anyone has a wonderful audio version of that book, we might try that. So let me know in the comments below if there is a wonderful Railway Children audio. That'd be great. Okay, the next one was 5 Little Peppers and How They Grew. I was loving this cute story. One of the main characters, so it's 5 little children, right? And Polly is the oldest sister, and I think she's 11. I don't remember, but we ended up listening to most of this. You can get it for free on LibriVox. And so we would listen to it, and it was enjoyable, but my children weren't just like begging for the story. They weren't like, Mama, I want to read that. I like the storyline. We didn't finish it. So that was the other one that we're going to have to pick up another time, and hopefully it will be a better time of life to dive into that one. So those were our favorite family read-alouds from this past year. It's crazy. While we were in the year, I was like, oh man, we're not reading aloud very much. I had so much more planned. And then you look back and it's like, no, we read some really wonderful things. These stories have gone deep into my children's hearts, and I've seen it come out in their play, and they'll bring it up when they are decision making, and oh yeah, I want to be like that person. I don't want to be like that person. And so it is cultivating virtue in their hearts and minds. So we loved these, and I'm excited to revisit the other two that weren't as much of a hit this year. I would love to know what your absolute favorite family read aloud was from this last year. I'm always collecting suggestions, and we just love books in our home. So I would love if you let me know down in the comments below what some of your favorites have been. All right, until next time, bye friends.